All right, so for this question, what we're going to do is we're going to change either the angle or the sine of r. Okay, now remember, in polar coordinates, in order to change the sine of r, okay, to change the sine of r, okay, we simply add or subtract pi from the angle. Okay. Now let's think about what that means, right? So for example, right, let's do this first point, right? This is the point 7 pi over 6 and 4. Okay, so we'll just eyeball this. 7 pi over 6, okay, that's in quadrant 3, right? That's in quadrant 3, 7 pi over 6. And 4 should be about 4 units away, right? So this point here should be about over here somewhere, right? That's the point 4, comma, 7 pi over 6. But then what does it mean, right? Well, we want to find the representation of this point, right? So no matter what happens, right, the point that we draw should be here. But we want r to be positive, okay? But we want the angle to be negative, okay? So to change the sign of r, we add or subtract pi. So we're going to take this point here, okay? And we're going to, remember, the question says we want the angle to be between negative 2 pi and 0, right? So we're not going to add pi to this, okay? Because if we do, we're going to get bigger, right? We don't want to do that. So if we take the 7 pi over 6 and we subtract pi from that, notice that we get pi over 6, right? But we subtracted pi, which means we're going to change the sign. So this is the same as negative 4 comma pi over 6, right? These 2 points are exactly the same. But does this answer the question, right? We want to find a similar point where r is positive. Oh, wait a minute, that's not positive. And wait a minute, the angle is not even within the constraints that's given, right? So what do? Okay, I need to make r positive, so I want to change the sign of r. So, okay, let's just subtract pi again. Okay, so pi over 6 now minus pi gives us negative 5 pi over 6. But because we subtracted pi, we are going to change the sign of r again. This gives us 4 comma negative 5 pi over 6. And there we go, right? This point, okay, is within these conditions. R is positive and the angle is negative. Okay? Just remember, don't be fooled by this, right? All of these 3 points are exactly the same. Okay, so what about the second point here, right? We got, okay, the point 2 comma pi over 4. Okay, we want to represent the same point where r is negative and the angle is positive, right? So the angle should be greater than 0 but less than 2 pi, and we want the angle to be negative. Okay, here the angle is positive, so, okay, I want to change the sign, so what should I do? In this case, I should add pi. If I subtract pi, I'm going to get negative, right, which I don't want. So pi over 4 plus pi gives me 5 pi over 4. But because I added pi, right, I'm going to change the sign. So this point becomes negative 2 comma 5 pi over 4. And I don't need to do anything else here because this point satisfies these conditions. Okay. So the last point here for this problem is the point 2 comma 3 pi over 2. And I want r to be negative, but I want this angle to be between 2 pi and 4 pi. Okay. So what should I do in this case? Well, I should just add pi to this. Okay. So I'm going to take the angle here, which is 3 pi over 2, and I'm going to add pi, okay, which gives me 5 pi over 2. And by doing so, because I added pi to this angle, I'm going to change the sign of r, right? So this point is the same as the point negative 2 comma 5 pi over 2.